Hello indie game fans, after my last video on upcoming Zelda-like games, more indie developers have reached out, so here are another 10 more upcoming titles in the space. Special mention goes to the previously covered Elementallis, a retro pixel art entry about obtaining the power of all the elements and to use them to defeat your enemies. A little birdie told me that this may be headed to Kickstarter in a bit, so stay tuned to the channel and I'll let you know when, but for now, do drop it a wishlist on Steam. Let's begin with Spell Blaster, another vibrant pixel art entry where you battle through the world on a quest to stop a wicked sorcerer from destroying all life on the planet. There appears to be a nice variety of biomes, from the classic grasslands to snow, ice, underground caverns and more. However, purists might not be happy to know that there is a world map with different stages, each culminating in the boss fight, so perhaps not as pure of a Zelda game, but it looks nice so I'm in, although I may have seen those assets being used in other games somewhere. An ambitious action-adventure title in development is Flatworld, coming to us from a Spanish developer who has quite the YouTube following. This seems like it has a very interesting mishmash of ideas and genres, where a company in the modern day discovers a parallel world and is trying to exploit it as a business opportunity. As such, there's fantasy monsters mixed with guns and helicopters, with dungeons of slimes and sandworms, crossed with a western-inspired location and more. I quite like the look of the characters, not so much of the environments, but something of interest to keep an eye on. A title currently on Kickstarter is Zoe and the Cursed Dreamer, an open-world action-adventure title that does look pretty good. As a fan of pixel art, I do appreciate the sprites used, taking place in a world where a tyrannical god sealed away years ago is beginning to stir, where you play as the average Joe who might somehow get entangled in all of this. There's somewhat of a life sim element in this, with a village full of characters to help and befriend, and even includes monster taming elements, player housing and decorations, a cooking system, bug catching, fishing, mining, farming and more, so again, another very ambitious title to check out. I'm curious about the structure of the game, of how the main story, if any, would tie into the life sim mechanics, with it currently being about a third funded with half the campaign to go, so do check it out and support if interested. Excited to share that the wonderful pastel colours of Skjoldur Story will be gracing our screen soon, since this light-hearted adventure will be launching at the end of the month. You play as a warrior who only has a magical shield, where blocking enemy attacks will give you the temporary use of them, which should result in some clever game design. I do like the look of this, being quite pleasant, although as with all games without outlines on their characters, the pixel art does not pop as much as I would like. Still, a wonderful little Zelda-like title that should be of interest, and if it does to you, help a developer out by giving it a wishlist. Alright, so I have technically covered Adeona before, but it bears mentioning once again in a focused video on Zelda-like titles, since it's a 16-bit retro action-adventure RPG that I think looks fantastic. the most striking thing about the game has to be the colour scheme, using the various colours of the character to characterize properties and abilities, but where it does intrigue me even more is the colour of the environments, from the grey and red and blue, so I do wonder how this ties into the game design. Most interestingly, this is supposed to be a free title as well, but the quality sure is there, so certainly high on my watch list for 2021. Another classically designed action-adventure title of interest is The Legends of Tynedale, one that I missed out on in my initial video and is certainly worth a look. Travel through the land as you take on your grandfather's legacy to uncover the mystery of the world. Probably as close as you can get to a Zelda inspiration in an indie game, with an open world with multiple biomes, dungeons, dual-purpose weapons and tools, boss battles, puzzles, and even a collectathon side quest. I like the use of the pixel art here, although there are some assets that do look to be out of place due to differences in pixel art's resolution, but another promising title to look out for this year. I've not talked about Trifox in quite a while, since it does seem to have been TBA until further notice, but this twin-stick shooter of an action-adventure title does look very good. The Tri in Trifox signifies the three classes you can play in the Warrior, Mage, and Engineer, where you do have the flexibility to mix and match abilities from every class. What is most interesting to me is that it is said to be inspired by the golden age of 3D platformers, which seems strange for a title like this, but that point alone has got me intrigued, so I guess that's marketing that works. I'm so very impressed with Deso Hunter, coming to us from a solo developer, which makes it even more amazing. It has you exploring a land invaded by monsters, being a prime target for treasure hunters, of which you are one, where the environments in particular look nice and varied. Not too much else has been revealed, but the combat in the trailer does appear to be affected by physics, which is always interesting, even more so when applied to this genre.
Dear brother, when this letter reaches your hands, I will no longer be protecting our lands. With great sorrow, I pass this duty on to you. Do not be afraid, as I will guide you through.
One of the highlights that was brought up to me is The Lightbringer, a puzzle action-adventure title set in a world corrupted by darkness, where you play as the titular character and have to bring light back to the land. It does have an emotional twist as well, where you're guided by your sister's spirit, but does look very well made and polished at this stage in development and should be fleshed out nicely when it releases.
Lightbringer, your story is about to begin. Do you have enough courage and light within?
The marketing pitch for Under the Island is very impressive, and I have to say it totally got me, since it states, "Do you remember getting up early on a Saturday morning as a kid just to play video games? Do you love the feeling of diving into unknown worlds where a new adventure is waiting for you behind every bush? Then Under the Island is the game for you." First off, I love the pixel art, where the classic action-adventure elements are present, so a no-brainer pick, taking the #1 spot. To check out more upcoming Zelda-like titles, check out this video and I will see you after the jump.